Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli, and welcome back to an episode of Hand of the Day. Today's hand comes from a online cash game I was playing. I've been grinding in the streets recently. It's been really fun. I love playing the games because I get to learn what the latest strategies are that people are using and then find tactics and ways to maneuver, outplay them, and then hopefully share those tips with you. So coming right up in today's Hand of the Day, one from High Stakes Online. All right, so today's hand kicks off in a 10-20 no-limit cash game. I'm on the button with ace-6 of diamonds, and I'm playing a short stack in the big blind. He only has $1,000. So in this spot, you want to start thinking right away about how you're going to adjust your strategy, because fundamental strategy in no-limit hold'em is predicated on the stack sizes of the opponents. So instead of raising maybe to 50 or 60 like I normally would, I opt to go for a min raise to 40 because that allows me to get a better price on my raise, and it allows me to play deeper, relatively deeper post flop against my opponent in the big blind. So I make it 40, the big blind calls, and we go heads up to the flop. Flop comes down King Jack 8, rainbow, he checks, and here's a pretty standard check for me. There's a lot going on this board. Any king, any jack, any 8 can call, but moreover, a lot of the hands that he called with pre-flop are going to have some straight draw, maybe even a gut shot combo with some middling cards, and all those hands are going to call a bet. Now, I don't really have many great turns that I could double barrel on, and so this puts me in a precarious spot. If I bet once, he calls, the turn goes check, check, he now bets the river. Even if he missed his draw, he's going to bluff me, I have to fold, and so I don't really win this pot. So I think you have to kind of step back from the standard I raise pre-flop and therefore I have to c-bet logic, and think about what hands you're targeting when you c-bet, what you're trying to accomplish with a c-bet, and if it really even makes sense. In a spot like this, I think it's better to check, and you don't have to be worried that checking makes you vulnerable, because you could also balance your checks with stronger hands, such as maybe like King 10 could check back this flop, or Ace Jack can check back this flop, and that hand is strong enough that you could call subsequent bets on the turn in the river, so you can't be exploited. I go ahead and check, and we go to the turn where things get interesting. Comes down to 5 of diamonds, and now he opts to overbet. He bets 160 here. And this is a play you're seeing in the streets pretty often in online poker. It's going to happen more often in live poker coming your way soon, so you want to be prepared for these sorts of things. What I'm seeing a lot in the online streets at the high stakes games is that people are overbetting the turns, particularly in spots where one player showed weakness or they have what is called a range advantage. And that simply means the types of hands that the villain could have are stronger than the hands that the hero can have. So in this spot, because I checked the flop, I don't really have many nutted hands, but he, the villain calling in the big blind, could have all the nutted hands. He can have King Jack, he can have King 8, he can have King 5, he can have Jack 8, he can have pocket 8s, he can have pocket 5s. I can't really have any of those hands because I checked the flop. He can still have those because he would check the flop with all those hands. So when the turn comes, he's now representing all of these strong hands that are in his range that are not in my range. And when a situation like that arises, people like to apply max pressure, and they do that by leveraging a very, very large bet size. And so you're seeing these people go 1.5, 2x pots sizing on the turn in spots like these, and you really want to be prepared for it, which is why I made this video. So you don't have to be scared of these bets, you don't have to fold every single time, but you want to think about what types of hands is my opponent betting this way with. And typically when people use really, really large sizing, their range is what is called polar, meaning it's very, very strong or it's complete air. So very, very strong hands to me would be something like King Queen or better, right? Hands that are going for value that are better than my checking range on the flop. So King Queen, obviously any 2-pair, any set, that makes sense. Or he has air. And there's a lot of air he can have here. Think about this. He can have Ace 10 maybe as a bluff. Maybe he has Queen 10. Maybe he has 10-9. Maybe he has a complete gut shot like Queen 9. Maybe he has 7-6. Maybe he has diamonds. Although I block some of those, he could still have other diamonds. Maybe he could have 10-7. So he could have a lot of hands here that are complete air, and I beat all of his complete air. Plus, if a diamond comes on the river and he does have air, he might bluff me, I could call. So I have a lot of implied odds here if I hit my hand, but most importantly, I might have the best hand here. So you can't just check the flop and then fold every turn, because it's too easy for opponents to exploit you, especially when they're going to just apply a lot of pressure and really get you to fold all of your middling, weaker types of hands. So I go ahead and call this turn. which I think is pretty standard with my hand. Frankly, I'd rather have ace-6 of diamonds than a hand like 7-8, because even though an 8 is better, my hand can improve to a better hand. So I call the turn, the river comes a complete blank, an offsuit 3, and now he continues telling this story and jams. So I'd like you to pause this video, turn this video from infotainment into a practical, actionable strategy video. Go ahead and leave me your thoughts in the comment below with what types of hands is he jamming the river here. Go ahead and list out his entire range, and I'll pick the best comment, respond, and I'd love to know from you guys what you think here. I always learn something from you as well. So thinking about this, the process I use is what's called a hand range funnel. What I do is I start with my opponent's range pre-flop. I call it a funnel because it starts very wide pre-flop. All the types of hands he's defending with in the big blind facing a min raise are very, very wide. And then as he takes subsequent actions, as he checks the flop, overbets the turn, jams the river, I'm funneling down his range until I come up with a very small subgroup of hands that he could have in this spot. I use this process because it helps me hand read in real time, and it's what I teach to clients and students as well. It works very, very well for them. So if you want to get access to this exact product I use, visit consciouspoker.com, enter your name and email. It's totally free. I'll send you over a PDF. It's really awesome content. It'll teach you how to use this in real time during your next poker session so you can figure out what your opponents are holding and make winning plays against them. So in this spot, I'm basically narrowing down his range to super strong hands like king, queen, or better, like 2 pair basically, or a complete bluff. And without going into all the math, I could put this into an equity calculator and figure out exactly what my equity is. But facing this large bet, I'm getting close to 2-to-1. So I need something like 35-40% equity here to justify calling. That means he only needs to be bluffing 35-40% of the time. Now, of course, he could have king-queen. Some of his king-queen 3-bets pre-flop, so he doesn't always have that. He could have king-jack, fine. He could have king-8. He could have king-5. He could have jack-8. But it's really hard to make 2-pair. It's really hard to make a set. And all of his draws missed. So again, going back to the turn, thinking about all of his queen-10s, his 10-9s, his queen-9s, his 10-7s, all of his diamonds, his 7-6s, all those hands now missed. And if he's going to bluff with those hands on the turn, he's probably going to sell that story and bluff with these on the river. Because if you think about it from his point of view, he probably puts me on a weak hand like an 8 or a jack, and facing a 1.5x jam, those hands are going to be kind of forced to fold. So because I'm sort of forced to fold, I'm kind of tempted to call, because you make money in poker by doing the opposite of what your opponent thinks you're going to do. And so it makes me think he's likely to be bluffing and less likely to be going for value. I actually think if he was going for value, he would probably target my jacks and my 8s and bet something like 180, 200, 220, because those hands could call a smaller bet. So unless he's on a super high level here and he's like going for big value to make it look like he's bluffing and all this next level stuff, I think it's more likely to be a bluff. So I go ahead, click that middle call button, and he turns over the 7-6 offsuit for a complete bluff. I scoop myself a nice couple $1,000 pot, and that's what's happening in the streets today in these high stakes games. So I wanted to share this with you because it's coming your way. I want you to be prepared for it. You're definitely going to want to look at your ranges. You're going to want to look at your equities. You're going to want to figure out your break-even point and really leverage your poker math to figure out exactly when you could call with certain hands in certain spots. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel. It really does help help us get more views so we can produce more content like this for you. I'm Alec Torelli. Thanks for your attention. See you in the next one.